All right, good morning, everybody. I just had to come back because of the show, the way the show ended. I feel like we didn't end the way that I wanted to. So I wanted to come back and give you a chance to give your thoughts. We'll call this the recap of the interview. I've got a chance to make sure that my cam is up. There we go. I told you I was here the whole time. There we are. Now we back, looking lovely. So I want to get your thoughts about the interview we just had with Carolyn Jones. So a little bit of a recap of the interview. Please take a second to like and share this stream. I know that it was a less than perfect stream. My apologies. I'll do my best to make sure we better in the near future, but I feel like it's worth the time to go back to get your thoughts as to what you saw and what you heard. And let me just start off. I appreciate Carolyn Jones coming on, spending so much time and giving us her honest opinion. I do not agree with some of the logic, but it is what it is. I mean, she was elected. She was elected to do that job. She was elected to do that job, not me. And she's making difficult decisions. She says she feels like, it's hard. And I get it. She's staying up late, trying to figure things out, some sleepless nights. And that's because we're dealing with public health. And I think that when you're dealing with public health and you're talking about people's lives, there's going to be a lot of emotion. And I wanted to make sure she understood it from the right way, which is the reason why people are reacting this way is because they are afraid. And this is what human beings do when they are afraid. They react in this nature. They act in this way. So it's a difficult situation there. If you got a chance to be a part of it, I want to get your thoughts. I want to get your thoughts this morning. The camera's back. I mean, the camera settings I was doing the camera settings, redoing them last night to optimize the camera that I'm using. To get the utmost quality. I mean, I care very much about every detail, every aspect of what I do. And believe me, nobody is more upset about any details, any snafus, technical issues than me, believe me. I'm going to have a hard time a little later going back over because I put a lot of time into it. I want things to be as good as they can possibly be. So thank you for being here. I really appreciate you. Again, tell me really quickly what you think. I don't have a plan for this. Again, I do have to move on. I've got Midday Juice coming up with Ask Ashley. Got to make sure we A1 for her show today. But I want to give you some time to think about, or not to think about, but to share your thoughts about, Carolyn Jones. Please share this in all the spaces in this city that you think that people might get something out of it. I really appreciate you in advance. What do you think? What do you think? TNT writes, very disappointed. Since he was there, disappointed. Well, it seems to me that what I've gathered so far from the interviews is that the school board members are looking at it from multiple issues. They're looking at it from multiple factors. And that's because that's the position that they're in. For me, this is about public health first. That's the number one priority. So there is a difference in our approach. When I asked Carolyn Jones, and I'll go through it because I still got it top of mind, and I take her for her word. I think she answered them all, true to her opinion. But just getting her viewpoint on some of it, it just seems to not be consistent with the health risk that we're really dealing with. But then we did get some admissions. So we have two board members that have voted to return to a blended model. And they both board members understand that Walnut Hills specifically, because of the nature of that building and the student body, is going to be at a different type of a risk. So they are not scheduled to return next week. She's right about that, but later in the month, the weeks afterward. 3 feet is not safe for anybody. And I'll be honest with you, family, I would never ask somebody to do something that I'm not willing to do. 3 feet rule, I want to do the 12 feet rule. So I would never send school kids into a school building if I feel less than safe about that. So Carolyn Jones at the end admitted that she's uncomfortable. She's got some hesitations as it relates to Walnut Hills. And so how's that going to manifest itself? Like, what does that mean exactly? What does that mean for Walnut Hills students? Why is it that Fairview and Kilgore and some of these other schools, and again, people are going to say it's elitism. They're going to say, oh, these are the other schools where the wealthy folks go. So why do they get a chance to have a virtual option where they can remain at their school, but the other schools cannot? That's gonna polarize people more and more. Um, I will say, she said it was a polarizing. The issue that COVID's not polarizing per se. Hold on one second here. Getting a message. COVID isn't polarizing. Um, is that right? Hold on. Experience.com. Hold on. Let me double check that. I'll double check that, Otis, for sure. I don't believe so, but I'll double check that to make sure. Make sure we're looking 100%. But I don't think that the COVID didn't polarize us. It's the decisions that we make about COVID that polarizes us. You know what I'm saying? That's how I look at it. It's not COVID. It's the decisions that we make about COVID, how we respond to COVID, that's going to polarize us, in my opinion. And so the decision is very polarizing. It's very, very polarizing. Hold on a second. I'm looking at a text message here. Very, very important text message. Let me see. Let's see. We can't have that, bro. We cannot have that. All right. All right. I think you're right about that, brother. My apologies. We can't have that. We don't want that at all. We want to make sure we're looking right at all points. Got you. Most deaf. Got you. Let me see. Oh, yeah. Got it. So I feel like there are a lot of issues about it. And when she talked about people getting personal, I'm with you on that. I don't think anybody should get personal about it. I mean, to me, I'm not getting personal in terms of getting away from the issue. To me, it's about the issue itself. It ain't about talking about what she looked like. I think she looks attractive. I mean, I didn't see anything wrong with it, in my opinion. She looked to be A1 to me. Hold on one second. I got to send this text message here. Okay. Yeah, got it and done. Appreciate that. Let me see here. Yeah. I think we're looking right. Right, got that. Down. Yeah, I think we're good. What's up, Cheryl? Thank you so much for the friend request. I appreciate it. So again, what is your opinion? My opinion is that I think that she was thoughtful. I thought that she spent time with us. I think that she tried to answer every question honest to her opinion. I thought her interview was much better than Pam Bowers. I put it right up there with Ryan Messer. She said we got a better understanding. She's really looking at the what's being lost in terms of the social emotional impact of being in school learning. She's really, really impacted by that. The reason why she felt like March 1st. Okay, great. I'm glad to hear it, man. Again, it has been a pleasure and a joy that I did not anticipate that I would enjoy so much, which is connecting, businesses with customers. I was looking at it like, okay, this is a way to, quite honestly, raise revenue, put it right back into what we're doing with CDM. But I get when I talk with clients and they're like, look, hey, we connecting with customers. It just gives me a joy that I didn't really, outside of whatever the arrangement is, that I didn't really anticipate, because I feel like I'm helping to, especially when I'm working with Black businesses, I feel like I'm helping to recycle our dollars. And I believe very, very, very strongly that, the Black community in general has everything that it needs inside of it. But we need to spend more time on that wealth building piece, building legacy, People talk about, oh, the government doing something for you. The government has a role, but I'm all about that self-reliance piece. And there's so much Black excellence out there that people just need the strings, right? To the laces. And then we can do their own thing. So it's been a real joy. I'm just talking about a text message I got from a client. So that is great. I love it. I love hearing that. We got a call on the line. Hey, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Great. So, as far as Carolyn's interview, I think the issue that I wish you would have expounded upon when she discussed equity and thinking about the holistic part of the child is that we really only need to bring back a certain demographic. So those who are homeless, those who have disability issues, everyone doesn't need to come back. And so when we're talking about equity, that's the part she doesn't understand, is that there are kids, when we talk about what's safe, who are abused at home, who does use the resources that CPS has. And those are the only kids that we need. Everyone else should be virtual, and they should be putting more time into building CDA. And the fact that she said that that wasn't a conversation before it was voted upon, I really don't understand, because it seems that she is aware that that option is not viable. So although she answered some questions, I still felt like there was a lack of accountability. And I feel like we've been in the pandemic for a year and we still don't have a solid footing on how to meet all the different needs. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. I appreciate you letting me call in.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for the call. Thank you for the call. I appreciate it. Good point. Good point. I think you made an excellent point. Why isn't that an option? Now, we still have some more board members to speak with. I want to speak to everybody. And tomorrow, I think we'll speak with Ben Lindy. And I'll tell you what time that is. He's the newest board member who was just voted in. He's got, I think, a 4-year term. So we'll talk with school board member Ben Lindy. Next week, we're scheduled to speak with, I haven't heard back from Melanie Bates. Hold on here. I want to make sure. Who am I forgetting? I always forget her. What is a white female Democrat? What is her name? Melanie Bates. Who is the other one, family? Help me out. I don't know why. I can see her face. But I can't remember her name. But she is scheduled to speak with us next week. Hold on, let me now, until I do this, it's just not gonna be right. Give me 1 second here. Let me look this up. Make sure that when people are coming on. It's very, very important to talk to each and every school board member, each and every one of them. I want to talk to everybody, and I want to know how they individually arrived at their decision. I think that's very, very fair. I think it's very, very fair. But what do you think? What do you think? So when I got from Carolyn Jones, you see, for me as a member of the community and a parent, I'm looking at the health of it. I don't feel like we get through this if we keep playing games with it and not taking it super seriously. Not to suggest she's playing games. But her issue is she believes that 8 instructional school days in the month of February is worth the risk. She believes it's worth the risk. Carolyn said that she doesn't think there's a difference between starting on February 1st and March 1st. Now, logically, it just doesn't make any sense, because we know at the very least it would give teachers a chance to get, who are the front line of this, it would give teachers a chance to get fully vaccinated. Whatever protections that gives you, in my opinion, we've taken this time, where we are, at least give people the maximum amount of protections you can give them, okay? The other thing is I'm concerned that there's, like I said, the college made an excellent point. Maybe what you do is you bring back some of the students and not everybody. So I think there's a lot of question marks here. I do agree with you. People have been talking about CDA since last year. Maybe this is the type of thing with CDA where they can't fix it while school is going on. Maybe that's what the case is. But I think in the near future, having the option for people to be at their home school and remain in CDA, I think there's 2 things that takes care of everybody's critiques. 2 things take care of the whole critique. There's no issue. Number 1, giving the teachers enough time to get vaccinated before they go to school. That's what I've heard from teachers. I've heard 2 things from teachers. Number 1, why go back during a pandemic when the infection rate is higher than it's ever been before? And then number two, if we got to go back, at least allow me the option to be fully vaccinated before I get in front of a class full of people who have not taken tests. And then number two, from parents, what I'm hearing from parents is, okay, give me a virtual option that's on the same level as the in-school option as much as it can be. In-school is always going to be a little bit up here, right? So that's what I'm hearing from parents. Parents are saying, hey, great, I'll make that choice. And so, some of these school board members, including Karen, are kind of talking out both sides of their mouth. On one hand, they say you got a choice, but then they'll admit that choice, CDA, is not equitable. So do you really have a choice? Not really, right? So that's what I'm hearing from parents. Parents are saying, look, it's a bad idea because I would choose virtual if virtual was a equitable option. So it seems like two things that CPS can work on moving forward. Number one, making sure that the frontline workers are fully vaccinated. And then two, having CDA be an equitable option. And a lot of what they're hearing and seeing, they wouldn't be dealing with. They wouldn't be dealing with it. You know what I'm saying? People aren't going off just because. Eve Bolton, thank you so much. Eve Bolton, thank you. Eve Bolton. Yeah, we'll talk to Eve Bolton on Tuesday. I don't know why I could see Eve's face in my mind's eye, and the name wasn't coming to me. I don't get it. Yeah, it was Eve Bolton. Let me see. Judy writes, Eve Bolton was my high school teacher, was she? Danita writes, how many teachers are actually taking the vaccine? That's a good question. They won't know. And there was some stuff that Carolyn, come on, Carolyn, just like we all know that the reason why the staffing went down last year was because of COVID. Playing these, I don't know why it could have been sore, people had a toothache. Come on, you know what it is. It was COVID. Let's call it what it is. The other thing, again, there was so much we could have got to. And I want to make sure we kind of stay focused. And I think Carolyn was genuine in her attempt to try to look at it from the big picture and kind of give her opinion. I think she was genuine in that. And he was just eating up a lot of her time, and she was like in left field trying to explain some of these things. I'm like, hey, let's go straight down I-71. Let's go straight down I-75. I don't want to take the 275 loop. Straight. You know what I'm saying? Let's get straight to it. She said a couple times she felt like I was baiting her. I'm not baiting you, Carolyn. It wasn't a bait. I'm asking you what I'm hearing people are concerned about. So I wasn't baiting you. It was just straight up question. Here's what people are saying. What is your response? What do you tell these teachers? Because you're making a decision. And, if you're a teacher, you have to make your own decision as to how you feel about how she responded to those questions. Again, I think that by everything I'm hearing, all the parents I know, they want their kids to be in school every day. Why? They're going to get the better quality learning. And then, if your job is an issue, it frees you up during the daytime so you can do what you got to do. Everybody wants the kids to go back to school. I want my kids to go back to school. The reason why they're not is because of COVID-19. It's not because they're having a video game tournament. It's not an e-game tournament. It's because of COVID-19. And until we beat COVID-19, why go back? I'm going to tell you what I can pick up. What I can pick up is that, and I said this yesterday, I'll say it again. I don't think that no matter what happens, I don't think, man, if there was a stage higher than purple that Hamilton County went to, I don't believe the CPS is ever going to do that, because that would be an admission that for the second time, they put everybody's lives in jeopardy. And oops, my bad, it wasn't a good thing to do. What's going to happen if it's a staffing issue? If it's a staffing issue, they may have to make a decision. Okay. And I think it's going to look really bad. Think about this in the future. 3 months from now, we have herd immunity. 3 months from now, let's say Hamilton County's in the yellow or whatever it is, the lowest level of infection rate. Okay. 6 months from now, people are in the summertime having a good time and people don't get sick to COVID. We'll look back on this and have a more favorable viewpoint of CPS and all the board members. Okay. All the people, including myself, that's upset. If they put this plan in place next week and nothing bad happens to your kid, and your kid doesn't get COVID and you don't get COVID, and the numbers start to go down and the vaccinations start to go up and the herd immunity starts to take place, we're going to forget all about this. Most people are going to forget all about this. So That's what they're banking on. And I hope that's what happens. I hope, and this is against my better judgment and logic, just like it was last year. Last year when they decided I thought they should have stayed in virtual and never go back. It didn't make any sense. Just like it doesn't make any sense right now. The only difference now is we have that vaccine. And if the vaccine works the way people want it to work, we can start to build up a herd immunity, a defense against the virus where it has nowhere to go and therefore it dies out kind of thing. And people will be happy. Nobody is going to be upset with Pam Bowers. Nobody's going to be upset with Carolyn Jones if this turns out good. Nobody's going to be upset with Ryan Messer if this turns out good. I'm just saying. So I want to put that out there. Like, I just know the way human beings are. We get upset and outraged today, and then tomorrow it's like, oops, there's something that distracts us and we forget all about that. That could definitely happen in this scenario. And I hope it happens because that means that nobody gets sick and nobody dies. But this is a choice that the school board made. They didn't have to. It wasn't the governor, Mike DeWine, because a lot of folks said, oh, the governor's making them. The governor's not making them. The federal government's not making them. They made this decision. It sounds like from Carolyn, they made this decision last year. So like, again, it sounds like two sides, you kind of have it both ways. On one hand, she said, oh, we want to be flexible. We want to be nimble. But then you're saying you made the decision way back then. And there's new information now. Also, parents were not and still have not been contacted and surveyed about how they feel about it. I think it's because it would have been inconvenient to the decision the majority of the board wanted to make. What else here? I think the thing that stands out to me, among other things, is Carolyn said that she sees no difference between starting on February 1st and March 1st, which, again, by all accounts, logically speaking, just doesn't make any sense. But that's what she said. She said the reason why she feels like February 1st and not March 1st is because if they start on March 1st, then at the end of March, their time is going to be broken up with spring break for a week. And she feels like, she wants to give the kids some continuity there. So again, by my calculation, that means 8 days of in-face instructional learning. Is it worth it? It depends. It depends on how you look at it. So TNT writes, someone's health will be jeopardized, but it is the risk they are willing to take. Right. Shelley writes, herd immunity does not work. One shoe doesn't fit everyone. Rachel writes, will CPS make those who refuse go back work? Danita writes, replying, if any staff refuse the vaccine, they can go back to work. Shelley writes, unfortunately, people will still get sick, die, and become carriers. The UK has 80 to 90% of the population vaccinated, and their numbers are still up because they can still carry the virus, right? And that's what I have to tell Carolyn, remind people, stop with this arrogance as human beings, thinking that we got everything figured out, we know how to do everything, oh, we got it all figured out. We do not. We do not have it figured out, but let's go to the phones. Good morning, welcome to the show.
Hey, Nathan, it's Kevin on the cell. How are you, sir?
Hey, what's up, Kev on the cell? How you doing, brother?
Trying to make it, bro. So great show, great content. It's wonderful to see. Number one, that the school board folks are engaged enough to come on and actually give some time for folks to air their opportunities and everything. I think that's huge. The accessibility thing is really cool. The one thing that's not being said, and I've kind of brought this up in some other places, is I'm wondering, I was doing a little bit of research myself to see, kind of what is the impetus of this whole get back to school thing. And I think the thing that's missing is there are funds that have been earmarked, federal funds that have been earmarked to schools. In fact, $1.4 billion has been earmarked to schools to help with COVID. And one of the things that I found is that those funds, if they're not utilized, if they're not used, they actually become a debt to the school. So I'm wondering if there has not been a request for reimbursement for possibly like sanitation equipment, for staffing. And these have to be things that are actually being used in the schools that are not reimbursed somewhere else. So, again, if there's a tie-in, there could be two components to it that I'm thinking. The first is that, well, this is an offset for the cost that we're going to have to bring the kids back at some point. Funding is important. And so if we've already determined or requested these funds, they could become a liability to the school. We already don't have enough, quote unquote, don't have enough money to operate. So we'd be giving up those funds. From a policy perspective, it makes great sense, right? Because you have an offset for costs that, number one, you probably didn't include in your budget at the beginning of the year anyway, should have included in your budget for fiscal 2021. But even if you did, if you have this offset, you can basically use that funding for other things, right? So I think we need to definitely ask if that's a component. I think yesterday, when you brought it up real briefly, I believe I can't remember even who was on. There's so much information coming so quickly. But when you brought it up, the person said, well, I don't think we have the same issue now as we did under the old administration. Because I know they were pushing for it in a big way. The Trump administration was pushing for return to school in a big way. And so I'm just wondering if that economic impact is actually, part of the impetus of, hey, we got to get back in. We need to use these funds. Probably have to use them before June 6th or whatever the last day of school is, right? Otherwise, we can't claim them, and then they may become a liability to us. So just kind of a food for thought, possibly a question to ask going forward. Is this tied to this funding? Is that what the big push is about? For me, as I said before, my child's not in CPS, but I live in CPS. So I feel as though my tax dollars are going towards this, and our kids and I'm a graduate of CPS. So I feel our kids are worth more than $1, right? There is no dollar number that you can put on my child's life. And so while I understand kind of where Carolyn was coming from, it still seems whitewashed. There's some push. There's a reason why you're doing this. It's not abstract. And your position is so firm. You are holding so strong to it. We just need more input as to why you're doing it. The other thing is, and I just want to say this, kind of a admonishment. I don't care what you want to call it. Man, this is grown folks' business. Choppers is here for grown folks' business. If you're childish, a little boy, a little girl out there, and you don't know how to, watch your mouth, you ain't been taught manners, you can't treat people with respect, how about you just stay off for right now? Because grown folks is talking about their families, their children, the people that are really important to them. And there ain't no time for playing games and talking about how people look and all that other garbage. Y'all can take that somewhere. Put that somewhere else. We don't have time for that right now. We're doing grown folks business around here. But Nate, man, this is great content, man. I love what you're doing. Keep up the great work. Be blessed. Stay safe.
All right, brother. Thank you for the call. That's Kev on the cell. Yeah, I don't get personal. This ain't personal. I'm not gonna talk about somebody's appearance I don't mind butting heads or having an argument or conflict. I don't mind any of that. Especially when we talk about our community. That's all part of it. Renee writes, I'm not buying that. Follow the money. Hey, good morning to you, Renee. Good morning to you. Shelly writes, unfortunately, people will still, I think I read that already. Jerome writes, welcome back, Nate and the Choppers. Renee writes, it's all about the money. Jerome writes, Dr. Fauci did say this morning that the schools were safe, but he also said that 90,000 people would die within the next month. Yeah, that's something else that I'm like, come on, Carolyn. Come on now. These false equivalencies. Talking about Dr. Fauci said it's safe to go to the schools. It's safe within the schools in the community. What's your point? That's a false equivalency. The conversation about is it safer at home than at school? And there's no research, there's nothing out there to suggest that you are safer from COVID in the schools than you are in virtual learning. And it doesn't even make any sense. She was out there on that one. The hell is you talking about? Talking about it's safer. Okay, think about what you're saying. It is not, somebody send me a link to any research out there to suggest that it's safer during this time, especially in we're purple, for you to be in the school than to be at home. That's what the choice is. The choice isn't being in the school and being at a restaurant. Okay, I will give you that being in the school is safer than being in a restaurant, but that's not the choice. The kids aren't going to restaurants right now in order to virtual learning. Overwhelmingly, they're at home. Overwhelmingly, people are quarantined. Why? Because it's safer than not quarantining. She was out there on that one. I'm like, so what are you saying? Think about what you're saying, sis. Huh? Don't make no sense. Dr. Fauci said it's safe in the schools. Dr. Fauci did not say that it's safer in the schools than to be at home in virtual learning. He didn't say that. So keep it in context. It's not what he said. They're making the argument that the schools are a safer option than there are a lot of public places in the community. That's a whole different conversation. We're not having a conversation about going to restaurants. We're not having a conversation about going to your local library. We're not having a conversation about going to the local town hall. We're having a conversation between staying at home and going to public school. That's what it is. She was out there on that one. I ain't get it. Danita writes, from a budget perspective, if the kids don't go back, people are going to lose their jobs. If they aren't in school, you don't need all the staff that they have, and that includes teachers. There will be a reduction in force for all unions. I mean, if they're not in school, you don't need all the staff. That's correct. If they're not in school, you don't need the custodian staff, and you don't need the people that maintain the buildings and the people that provide services in the school. But some of those people are providing services virtually, and the teachers are still working virtually. So yeah, I hear what you're saying, but we are in a pandemic, y'all. FG writes, right. Yeah. People saying Kev on the sale hit the target on that one. Great call. Gabrielle writes, it's definitely about that money. Maggie Neighbor, preschool coordinator, confirmed that on the call. Well, if it is about that money, say it's about the money. They say that they are only safe as the community they are surrounded by. Communities like ours, who are at the highest level, it is not recommended. I'll try to drop the video in the friends group. CNN COVID Town Hall. Facts and Fears aired yesterday. It just makes sense. So basically what we've gotten so far with the school board members is this is the decision we made, and we're going to stick to it. This is my personal viewpoint no matter what, even though they can admit that. And let's talk about the academic piece. So right now you got kids that are getting a certain amount of days of virtual learning with their teacher. They have access to their home teacher. That number is going to be decreased by 1 day when they go to the hybrid system. How does that support academics? I don't get it. And then she kind of made a mistake when she brought up my daughter. You know what I'm saying? She was making some assumptions. So my daughter, very smart, intelligent, young, teenage, melanated girl with all her young teenage melanated magic. We just talked about it last night. In preparation, she's watching as much as she can and paying attention to these videos. My daughter, since the beginning of the pandemic, was like everybody else's kid. She wanted to go to school. She was really dealing with the social isolationism, but that was then. She's worked through that now. So if she had a preference, if it was safe, if there was no COVID, yeah, she wants to go to school. But how is it that a 15-year-old can understand this and these grown 60, 50, 30-year-olds on the school board don't get it? It ain't safe right now. So Carolyn made a little bit of a mistake when she brought up Medium Buddha. So I had to make sure I told her, like, since you brought this up, my daughter feels like it's a mistake, especially at Walnut Hills, to go to any in-person learning. She feels like she don't want to do it. She does not want to do it. But she's dealing with the fact that CDA is not an equitable foundation, and she's worked so hard to this point. So you got a school board that's forcing children and forcing parents who might be COVID sensitive to brave COVID just to get that education that they're already getting. She's already getting it. And all this stuff about physical contact. They're not supposed to have physical contact, Carolyn. What are you talking about? They're not going to have physical contact. That's against the protocol. They're going to have masks on. They should be 6 feet of distancing. And they're going to have less than what usually would be the amount of people in the classroom. They're not going to school to have physical contact. What is it? It kind of blows the mind. They're not supposed to have physical contact, even when they go back to school. Are you talking about physical proximity, maybe? Or maybe so. I don't know. But Lindsay writes, this narrative that people won't have jobs because there's no use for them. Teachers have been working every single day, 8 hours a day, teaching kids. I am just confused as to why people think work isn't going on just because it's coming from home during a public health emergency. Yeah, what Lindsay just said. These teachers are working every single day. Work is going on right now. Learning is going on right now. And see, that's what's being suppressed here. What's being suppressed is that learning is going on right now. Students are learning right now. This is what these school board members don't really want to talk about. They don't want to talk about this side of it because it doesn't fit the narrative. It doesn't fit their conclusion. Learning is going on right now. Teachers are doing what teachers do right now. Students are getting academically fed right now. TNT writes, my kids are thriving virtually, and the superintendent said there was more participation virtually than in person. More students were out. And in the coldest months of the year, today would be a snow day, right? Again, folks, it just doesn't make any sense. And I think that's what you're getting more and more is being proven to you that this doesn't make any sense. It logically just doesn't hold up. It does logically. What are we talking about? I do not believe what she said about, it's 50-50. I think that's part of the reason why they didn't do a parent survey. Because I think the parent survey they did last year might have been more like 50-50. But if they did a survey in January, asking parents what they thought about going back to school in February, the vast majority of parents, in my opinion, would have said, nope, pump the brakes, don't do it. Yeah, real simple. Real simple. Well, the way she spoke about your daughter came off like she doesn't value student input. Right. Yeah, she valued student input when she thought she knew what my daughter was going to say. But as soon as I told her, it was all about, well, that's just your daughter. Well, you brought her up, Carolyn. I didn't bring up medium Buddha. You brought her up. You brought her up because you thought you knew what she was going to say. Medium Buddha is a very intelligent teenage black girl with her black girl magic. Very intelligent. And she's intelligent enough to know that she can get what she needs right now academically, virtually. And she doesn't have to put her life at risk and put her father's life at risk. She knows that. So, I mean, that's what it comes down to. And, like Carolyn said, she said, people, if they don't like what I'm doing, I'm sure I'm going to be voted out. Now, that's some BS, kind of. Maybe yes, so. It depends. Like, if the election was held next month, see, that's the other thing about it. See, Carolyn Jones is not up for re-election. She's not up for re-election for another 2 and 3 years. Carolyn Jones is smart enough to know that anything can happen within 2 or 3 years. And in 2 or 3 years, people are going to totally forget about this, so they may not bring this up again. She knows what she's talking about. She knows this. She knows this. Karma writes, well, they haven't had a grasp of targeted kids that need to go back. They send these surveys to parents who do want them to come back. Why? What barrier is it, and we able to fix it with that child being virtual, or do we need to bring a smaller population? I just feel like there's a lot that CPS is lagging on their plan. It doesn't make sense. It didn't make sense last year when they forced everybody to go back. It didn't make sense then. It doesn't make sense now. But this is where we are. But listen, family, I got to make a move. I want to get ready for Midday Juice and Ask Ashley. I wanted to come back and at least give you some time here. I thought the way the show ended was very, very, very rough. And I wanted to get some of your thoughts out there before we moved on with the rest of the day. but you had it. What I'm going to do is go back and just make a clip of just the time I spoke with Carolyn and cut out some of the technical issues that we have so people can just hear what she had to say. And then I'll repost that so everybody can check it out. All right. So I really appreciate you. Again, it means everything. Thank you for being here this morning. Have an excellent rest of your day. And we'll talk real soon. All right. We'll talk real soon. All right. Hold on one second here. Yep. We'll talk real soon. Have an excellent rest of your day. I really appreciate you, as I just said. Make sure you check out the show tomorrow morning. Now, tomorrow morning, it's not scheduled, but we did have the conversation to talk with Ben Lindy. And Ben Lindy is the newest school board member, and he also voted to go back to in-school learning. But I'll tell you one thing about Ben Lindy that I learned. He's in favor of 5 days a week. He wants to get to 5 days a week as quickly as possible, which I thought was very interesting when he said that during the last school board meeting that was streamed virtually, right? So we'll talk to him and get his thought process all coming up tomorrow morning, starting at 7:30 a.m. Have an excellent rest of your day, family. All right? Have an excellent day. Make it a great day. Also, check out Midday Juice today at 1 p.m. She got that juice. Ask Ashley. And you can check out the Truth to Power podcast. They streamed yesterday during the day as well. They had some very interesting opinions that were not too far from what people are saying today. All right? I'm Nathan Ivey. Until next time, I'm out.